and an exclamation point from the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was funny because we're watching the wall of games, and our attention was primarily on Steelers Commanders.
There's a fumble, except for me.
And all of a sudden, a certain Sasquatch screams out.
I haven't really seen this video yet.
I can't remember the quote, but it was along the lines of, "Holy shit, they blocked it."
It's something like that. It was. It's funny. We're in our viewing room, and I know they put it on social media, and I've yet to really see it. But the Chiefs they're incredible that way. But yeah, we were watching. There were so many things going on. There was a fumble in that Commanders game, and I didn't take my eyes off of this because I was like, man, I want to watch this. The Chiefs 9-0, right, or 8-0. Are they really going to go down right here? And I just kind of wanted to see their reaction and all of that. And of course, they make the play and get the blocked field goal.
And you hug the moment for yourself. The proper etiquette in the viewing room is to say to the room, field goal try, lower middle.
Well, no, everybody knew that. I mean, we had just watched the play before to go, hey, here they go to kick the field goal.
But we were focused on.
I know, because everyone just went, well, they're going to make it. It's not that far.
The problem is, and I've been doing this 15 years now.
Yeah.
Your eyes go to the audio.
Yes.
And it's hard to pay attention to the game where the audio isn't on.
Out of that. Yeah, I've had to get out of that. Right. Yeah. And the other problem too, Mike, is I write notes sometimes, as you know, because I got a ton here as we sit here. And so I'm like trying to keep up with, fumble in the Steelers game, why I'm watching the game. And I didn't get the chance to go, hey, everybody, because I usually do that. I go, hey, big play here, big kick, whatever. But that was an unbelievable moment to keep the undefeated season alive with a blocked field goal. Incredible by the Chiefs.
And you saw the elation from Patrick Mahomes after they pulled it off. I had to get Leo Chenal on the phone afterward. He's the guy that blocked it. We didn't know who blocked it. Initially, the NFL's official site that has all the stats gave it to
Mike Dana.
Yeah, Mike Dana. It looked like George Karlaftis at one point. I don't know who the hell did it,
right.
But it ended up being Chenal. And there was nothing about – because we always get into film study. What'd you pick up in film study? Nothing. No, it's in-game. In-game. They had 4 prior place kicks, 2 field goal attempts that were missed by Will Lutz, and 2 extra points that were made, and it gave him an idea of how the guy was blocking him. His guy across from him, he said he was a little light on his toes. Bull rush was going to be effective. They're very competitive about getting off at the exact perfect time, and it was a jailbreak. They all got off at the exact perfect time, and he said one of the things that they do in Kansas City that's impressive, there's a greater level of attention to detail, spearheaded by Dave Taub, the special teams coordinator, because you've got guys who have their own stuff to do.
Exactly.
I'm playing defense. I don't have time to compare notes and talk about this and think about this, but they have a greater level of attention to detail that pulls the two sides of the ball together for special teams, because it's critical. That's how they won that game. That's why they won that game.
It's incredible. I talked about this on my podcast last night, and again, I think it's something that we've talked about a lot. The Chiefs have gym rats. They have guys that love football. It's the thing that when you talk about culture of a football team or whatever, when you go there and you're in their facility and you go to their practice, you never get the sense that it's like the guys are going out in the practice field like, and they're buckling their helmets like, another day of the grind of practice. You go there and you're like, man, these guys are psychos. They love this. They're flying around, and they're loving that they're working and getting beaten into the ground a little bit, and they're enjoying the process. They really have those type of guys, and that's what's special what Andy Reid and Brett Veach have built there. But to your point, Mike, my 8 years in the NFL, I can swear to you, never did I ever hear starters on the offense or defensive line talking about special teams anything during a football game. I guarantee if I asked my dad, I go, Dad, 15 years in the NFL, did you ever hear Mark Bavaro or Lawrence Taylor or Jim Burt or anybody talking about special teams? He'd be like, absolutely not, Christopher. Like, what? Like that? So that it speaks to what you're talking about. The coaches they have, Dave Taub, how special he is as a coordinator, the players, all of it, it's just aligned perfectly in Kansas City.
The idea that there's competition among these players for who gets off the ball the fastest on a field goal attempt. That's amazing.
You see it,
and
like,
it speaks to what you're talking about.
Yes.
There's a love for competition. There's a love for the sport. There's a love for understanding that any little thing can make a difference.
Racing to the next drill. Like, they're one of those teams where hey, we're down here working on individual stuff. The horn blows and you see Mahomes like racing the other quarterbacks and Nick Bolton, the linebacker, running and racing the linebackers to the next drill. And then, puffing out their chest like, yeah, I won. I got to this drill first. It's that type of stuff. And it's that type of stuff that builds, culture and the ability to make these unbelievable plays that we continue to see late in a football game. I mean, Chanel got it. It looked like Karlaftis would have got it if he didn't get it. But amazing football game, and a game that was, I think, it'd be fair to say a little bit of story of two halves, or a tale of two halves, right? First half, Denver came out. Sean Payton had a good game plan. They had some ways to pick up the Chiefs' blitz. They made a few big plays. Bo Nix looked good. The Broncos' defense was all over the Chiefs' offense, and Patrick Mahomes was under pressure. I mean, they controlled the first half. But late in the first half, Kansas City went down and scored a touchdown and really controlled the game from there on out. But couldn't score touchdowns or punch it in a few times with some of these good drives they had in the second half to really get ahead in the football game and put Denver in a tough spot.
Yeah, a couple of short field goals in the second half was
inside
the only
the
scoring.
5-yard
28
line,
yards and 20 yards.
Yeah, they were there. I mean, the times where you go, well, this is a good drive. They look good. Mahomes made good decisions. They threw a good screen, whatever. Because the passing game had moments for Kansas City yesterday where you went, ooh, it looks pretty good, especially against this team with the way they can rush the passer and cover receivers down the field. But, yeah, unable to punch the ball in the end zone in the third and the fourth quarter is what allowed Denver to hang in there and then, ultimately have a chance to maybe win the football game.
Key conversion there on 3rd and 13.
Third down, and then remember that Mahomes misses the Kelsey in the end zone on third down on that drive inside the 5 or 6 yard line. Where another moment we could have gone, they could have scored a touchdown to make Denver have to go score a touchdown to beat them. He misses Kelsey in the back of the end zone. You remember the play kind of sitting there? Kind of overthrew him. We were kind of like, what? Was he throwing that away or what was he doing? They kick a field goal, and that gave Denver that opportunity to win it.
And what added to the opportunity, Harrison Butker, very reliable as a field goal kicker, put the ball short of the landing zone.
Right.
I don't know. They were probably going to try something where it hits and trickles into the end zone.
I forgot
they started
about
at the 20.
that.
So they started at the 40.
Yes, that's right.
They start at the 40, and all they need is a field goal to win. And at one point during that drive, Chanel told me there was talk about letting them score a touchdown. Not that they would have done it. I'd like to think the Broncos would have had the presence of mind to just
still go down,
squat on the one.
Right.
But let them score a touchdown. We get the ball back. Our offense wins the game. And Steve Spagnuolo just shut that down. No, we're not going to let them score. We're going to make a stop. And they made the stop, and they made the block. It's really amazing. I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to wonder how many different ways can they win football games. When you have the greatest player on the planet, and he's not the one who is bailing you out. We had that package last night at halftime of all the different ways they've won. There weren't any of them with Mahomes making some great play in the final seconds. It's something else. It's some weird thing that, hey, look, right on cue. Week 1, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
They would have gone for 2 there. If we didn't have this shot, because none of the other camera angles showed that toe out of bounds, would have gone for 2. Chiefs win the game.
Week 2, Bengals, right? They had the strip sack fumble of Joe Burrow picked up for a touchdown, but then here down too late, throws it up, scramble, 4th and 16.
Oh, there's that flag.
PI, and that was PI. I don't care if you're from Cincinnati or Kansas City. That was PI, but they get the field goal, win it because Butker's awesome.
There was PI in this game near the end that wasn't called. That helped the Chiefs, but then this stop in the backfield.
So many good players.
Nick
and
Bolton
guys
just shoots through.
Right. No, maybe now some of these guys aren't superstars like Mahomes or Kelsey or Chris Jones,
but Mahomes elevates.
And they're really good. Maybe they're not superstars, but they're damn good players.
Now,
there was this.
This is Mahomes doing the Mahomes run.
Did it.
Yep.
Did.
That's Lamar Jackson looked like Mahomes when he was running down the sideline, like stop and start, be slow and methodical, and then boom.
Oh man.
So, but that's Mahomes as the factor, not as a thrower, as a runner. And then watch Baker. Oh, I was like, oh, shit. You know why? Because they were in overtime against the Falcons, and he called heads, and it came up tails, and then that one he called up tails, and it came heads. They've got 2 games in overtime. First drive touchdown, and the Chiefs are inevitable.
They are. They're inevitable. The way they've done it, and of course yesterday with the blocked field goal and all of that, it's hard to come up with teams in history. It's like the first part of Mahomes' career, he carried the football team with all these great passes and whatever else and scrambles and all of that. And now it's almost like they're in a part of the dynasty where it's like they're the early Patriots, where it's just like, hey, he just, like Brady in 2003, 2002, just make a big play here and there or a clutch spot in our defense, and we'll run the ball and we'll do everything else right, and that'll get us over the hump. It kind of feels like that. It's really crazy how it went full circle.
They're 6 games away from tying the Patriots record from 03-04 of consecutive wins of 21. That's the all-time record for consecutive victories.
Right.
So
Right.
they have that. McCourty and I were talking last Tuesday about how, hey, on the way to 3 in a row, they got a chance at 20-0. They got a chance. Once they beat the Bucs, I said it's not too early to talk about them running the table. Now, the Bills are going to have something to say about it on Sunday, and the Chiefs would probably prefer that we don't talk about them running the table because they want to get these one at a time. But they could do the ultimate. They could set the record for consecutive wins ever across multiple seasons. They could go 20-0. They could win their 3rd Super Bowl. And it may be at the end of the day, the Lions are the team that is standing in their way.
If they do all
would that
those
be
things,
something?
it would be.
Chiefs, Lions, 19-0 Chiefs taking on the Lions in New Orleans, where Dan Campbell was beloved as assistant head coach and tight ends coach. Sign me up for it. We got a long way to go before we get there, but I will love it if it's Chiefs,
that would be one of the greatest
Lions
storylines ever.
for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're sitting there with a chance to go 20-0 and break all these records. And what do you think? Does the chase for three-peat, does it take pressure off if their focus all of a sudden certainly starts to go on to the?
I think it adds pressure.
It adds more.
It adds pressure.
To be undefeated is like a double whammy.
It's everything.
Yeah,
right. But they. Given the things you're saying about how gym rats and they love football,
they love all this.
They appreciate the history that they are in position to make. And I've said this ever since I decided a few weeks back in the very highly specific, objective, and formulaic PFT power rankings that I pull out of my butt. The Lions are the best team in the NFL, but if the Lions and the Chiefs were to play in a neutral site, I'd probably pick the Chiefs to win, which means the Chiefs probably should be number 1. And who knows? After yesterday, maybe they'll be flipped because this was the first time I saw the Lions and I thought they won, but they weren't impressive.
You know, like maybe you just take like that old like college football AP like bull crap they used to do and have a tie at the top, right?
I always hated that, and I always hated the split championships.
Yeah, I know.
Where the coach's poll was one and the AP was the other.
Right.
I hated that.
I agree.
How can we not have an agreement on who the best freaking team in the country
is? Well, this one's a tough one. I don't know if you would have an agreement.
We resolved this one on the field. The best part.
Yeah. But I'm with you, and you know the Chiefs too. If we want to talk about a few other things, I mean, Mahomes, the passing game did look better. It looks good, but still lack of wide receiver presence consistently through the game is a little bit worrisome. We got DeAndre Hopkins with 4 catches, right? I mean, really, other than that, there's no receiver that jumps out with anything on the stat line that you go, ooh, wow, that looks good, whatever. So how long can they continue to do this with 2 and 3 tight end sets? And then as we saw yesterday, what was the biggest problem with the Chiefs? Left tackle.
Yep.
Left tackle. Wayne Morris having issues there. He got a little banged up. Sua Matia had to come in. He couldn't block anybody on the left side. Wayne Morris came back in. He still couldn't block anybody. So they got to be a little concerned with that over there and how that looks right now because, man, Mahomes was under pressure a lot. And what we saw, too, with a really good defense in Denver is they go, we're not afraid to blitz you. I mean, it is Mahomes. We're scared of you that way, but we're not scared of like the speed and the receivers you have, and we're not scared to leave Surtain and Riley Moss and some of our corners in some man-to-man situations because we don't think you're that scary and dangerous. And that allowed them to play games up front that caused issues for Kansas City's O-line and made Mahomes get out a lot of sacks and throwaways and, you know, and then, of course, he took a lot of big hits, too, where he just didn't see it coming and got blindsided. You don't see that often.
9 different players caught passes from Mahomes, but it was Kareem Hunt as the
Yeah.
leader in yardage, Travis
Quick
Kelce
throws,
leader in catches,
screens.
and you're right, Hopkins had 4 for 56.
Yeah, that is what scares me a little bit, and I'm a little surprised by that stat line and the fact that we saw DeAndre Hopkins kind of carve a spot out for himself on Monday night against the Buccaneers. I kind of was hoping that would continue. Had a big catch in the fourth quarter, certainly, but again, like I said, lack of wide receiver presence does scare me a little with the Chiefs.
What else? I
Yeah.
mean, the defense continues to be
Yeah.
the strength of the team.
Yes, their creativity, what they do, they don't let you run the football on a consistent basis, and then they're a team that can play man to man. Now, if you got some heat at receiver, and we saw yesterday, Bo Nix and Sean Payton decide to come out aggressive, and we saw Cortland Sutton have a few opportunities against McDuffie or whoever else where, yeah, he could go down the field and make something happen, and Bo Nix put the ball on the money that way. But, I mean, there's not a ton to talk about negatively about the Chiefs. I think the one thing about the Chiefs to talk about maybe, and this is early in the football game where, hey, Sean Payton can be scary early in a football game. You don't know what he's going to throw out at you. It looked like he had a good first 15 and things like that to move the ball, and they had some creative ideas. And here was the 3rd and 1 where they went, wait, they got 10 guys at the line of scrimmage. Why are we trying to run the ball? Here, they're giving us a chance to throw the ball deep. They do that, but look at that play right there. I mean, that was a nice damn play by Bo Nix to set up that game-winning field goal. They got a bright future, and Bo Nix continues to go upward. Sean Payton's got something in him at quarterback. He's not going to have to worry about that for a long time. But, yeah, the Chiefs' D, Mike, it's pretty damn awesome.
Well, and the thing about Peyton, you mentioned the first 15 plays, how he scripts that. It's all specifically tailored to what he sees from your defense.
Right.
He knows that defense, and he cracks the code and gets it rolling. But the problem is the offense petered out, and the Chiefs were able to eventually.
They just don't have enough firepower in Denver yet, right? I feel like this was the year they're kind of laying back in the weeds. They're grooming their quarterback.
They need a badass running back.
They need
All
a
due
badass
respect.
running back and
All due
one other
respect to who they
receiver
have.
that you go, ooh, okay, oh wait, you want to double Cortland Sutton? Okay, we got this guy over here. They're missing a few pieces. This is part of the process in Denver right now. But how can you not be happy about what you're saying? I know that's I know that was a tough loss last week. No doubt, but did most Bronco fans think they were going to be sitting here at 5-5 and this big of a pain in the ass in the AFC with a rookie quarterback before the season? I would bet no, and they're still in the thick of this, and it's going to come down that last seed in the AFC: Denver, Cincinnati, Indianapolis. I look at those three; they're going to fight for that 7th seed.
Well, and the Bengals were the winners yesterday. The Chiefs were the winners Thursday, but the Bengals were the winners yesterday because all the teams they're competing with lost.
Yeah, that was big. That was big. It came to my attention late last night.
The Chiefs schedule, let's take a quick peek ahead here because a hell of a game is coming up on Sunday, 4:25 Eastern. Chiefs at Bills. Then it softens at the Panthers, although the Panthers are a juggernaut now, 2 in a row. The Raiders on Black Friday, and then look at that, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's some
coming to Kansas
got
City.
a test there.
NBC and Peacock, Week 14. Then it's at the Browns. Check the box on that one. Sorry, Browns. Then the Texans on a Saturday. That's the Saturday before the Christmas game at Pittsburgh, and then at the Broncos to end the season.
That's going to be some
if
run
they
at the
go, if they go 17-0, they will earn it. The last 3 weeks, if not the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Texans are going to be by then, and they probably will have had the division clinched. But the 3 games that stand out to me, after Bills, obviously, Chargers, Steelers, Broncos.
Yeah, I get you there. They're going to be tough tests. And as we saw, the Chargers, they match up with Kansas City, and so do the Denver Broncos. So they're not going to be easy matchups. The other thing, too, just while we're sitting here and we're talking Chargers, the Chargers are one of those teams that I would sit here and go, watch out for them right now. They got it going. I know their early season schedule was not all that tough and the teams weren't that impressive. I don't really care. The quality of play and how it looks. Like I asked McCourty and Jason Garrett in Football Night in America, all right, I know most people got, Chiefs, Ravens as top 2 teams in the AFC, but who's that next team, right? Is it the Steelers? Is it Buffalo? I'm not so sure I wouldn't take the Chargers. With that quarterback,
you have done a full 180 with Jim Harbaugh.
But I like with the way they play, and of course I'm a big fan of the defense and what Mike Minter's coaching on that side of the ball. But the running, the O-line, the physicality, and then Herbert, it's almost a little bit like we just talked about with Mahomes. It's just like, hey, we don't want you to throw 40 times and throw for 400 yards. We just want you to pick and choose, and at the right moment, we're going to call the right play, and we need you to make the big throw, and he does that. And they're getting in. They're going to be one of those teams, if they get in the playoffs, you're not going to want to see the Los Angeles Chargers coming to town with that defense and that quarterback. That's for sure.
Week 4, the Chiefs won at LA 17-10.
Right? Yeah, right.
And look, I've said this about the Lions already, and I'll say it about the Chiefs, and I'll say it about any team in any division.
Yeah.
You don't want one of your division rivals rolling into town in the playoffs because they're not intimidated by you, they know you,
Definitely.
and they would love nothing more than to stick a dagger into your special season.
Right.
Here you go, 1 seed. Enjoy this. How many times have we seen that? We've seen, like in NFC East, when the Cowboys are the 1 seed. Who went in and beat them? The Giants went in and beat them.
Yeah,
when they went to that's my quarterback. Yeah. And then the Giants were the 1 seed, and the Eagles went in and beat them. There was a time, and it's been 30 years ago, but the Vikings had a great season. The Bears just managed to barely get into the playoffs. They go in and they just dominate the Vikings in the playoffs. Like when you are in that same division, and I could see
it's scary.
It's not going to be an easy road for the Chiefs. They're going to earn every step of it, and we've gotten accustomed to and spoiled by their ability to keep doing it.
Yep.
I will say this though: I will write this check now.
Right. Oh,
and it's
going
to be an expensive check.
Let
No,
me hear it.
I'm not going to write this check because I'm thinking of all the different things we have going on that day. I almost said
What?
if they're undefeated on Christmas Day,
Yeah.
I will go to the Steelers game in Pittsburgh.
Well,
that starts at 1 o'clock Eastern.
Well, yeah.
I'll completely screw up my family's Christmas if I do it, though.
That one might be worth it, though. I mean,
When I come home, my family will have locked me out for good.
Well, maybe you can get that suite that you had that one time, Bobby Big Bucks over there. Maybe you can make that happen. That's what you should do. Have Merry Christmas.
That'd be a hell of a Christmas.
That would be. That might be one that you might have to break it and go, wait, I can watch the Steelers, who are like, I think actually good this year, where I'm not going to be rooting for them not to make the playoffs.
Good enough to win in the postseason
Right,
is what
exactly
you're saying.
what I mean. So I will be rooting for them as we continue to go here. And then if the Chiefs are undefeated, wow, Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson will relish the opportunity to ruin that perfect season.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.